much hinges on whether the Russians try to recoup the ground they've lost. And Robert Fox, the defence editor of the London Evening Standard, says they might.
The trouble is that if they do that, they're not doing so well in their crudeness in the court of world and public opinion. They keep on saying, we're out for ourselves, NATO, the West, Europe is out to get us. But the constituency they're in danger of losing is the one that really counts for them, and it's the South. It's Africa, it's part of Asia, it's the Gulf. If they're no longer a valuable ally to them, and it's just beginning to dawn on the countries that have relied on grain and maize and oil and fertilizer from the Black Sea, both from Russia as well as Ukraine. That is where they're in trouble.
The Wall Street Journal on Sunday reported that the Biden administration is nudging the Ukrainian government to view Kherson's fall as an opportunity to think about negotiations before the worst of the region's winter sets in. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. The Democrats' retention of the US Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for US President Joe Biden following the midterm elections, while some Republican lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. At least 6 people have been killed in an explosion in Istanbul. And after scenes of elation following Ukraine's capture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
An innovative new smartphone app funded by the GOP is set to streamline voter discrimination in key swing states. With more on this fascinating story, we go to Jason Copeland.
Well, thanks, Andrea. You know, a new election means a new set of racist voting laws in battleground states, causing long delays and chaos at the polls. But does it have to be so cumbersome? This year, the exciting new Vote Right app aims to help minorities avoid the hassle by stripping away their vote right in the palm of their hands. The Vote Right app is incredibly user-friendly. When you register, you first enter a set of personal information and take a photo of your skin. Vote Right immediately makes rash generalizations about you, and these are just some of Vote Right's intuitive new features. Real-time updates on the bullshit red tape preventing you from registering, and even a video of a condescending white woman who will scream at you from the phone rather than in person at the polling station.
This isn't a food stamp line, sir. You need ID.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
And we're back. Although something seems to not be right tonight.
It's me, Yuki Moonlight.
Something oddly missing from this first segment of Free Talk Live on Sunday. We'll see what we can do about remedying that.
Where's Richie Rich?
It is Free Talk Live. Captain's Log, Stardate 11132022. In the studio, it is myself, the Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass, Buckshot Esquire, if you will. Joining me tonight,
Richie Rich.
And
Nikki Moonlight.
Moonlight, really?
Whatever.
Changed her name.
I think Major Payne suggested that at some point.
Oh, that's right. I think he did.
It's a callback joke, Captain. That's what I do.
Callback?
You got to be a long time. You got to listen to every episode to get some of the references. So fire up your feed reader.
You know, I'm going to see if I can. These are highly technical terms. So for our listeners out there, if you don't understand the technical terminology I'm about to use, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. But I'm going to see if I can jiggle the thingy and work some voodoo and conjure up a third host here tonight.
Jiggle the thingy?
Jiggle the thingy, work some voodoo. Yeah, highly technical terms. If you don't understand, the terminology that I've just used, it's fine. Not everybody's a technician. Not everybody will understand these terms. So, but I'll see what I can do about conjuring up a third Free Talk Live host.
A facsimile host.
If you will. Yes. A facsimile. Perhaps bearded, perhaps not bearded. It doesn't matter on this show.
We don't know at this point.
Yeah. But I did title tonight's show something very bizarre. It was, do toads taste like Chinese gold stuffed fried chicken? And
Nazi fried chicken.
Oh,
You forgot the Nazi?
Well, maybe that was intentional. I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like I meant to put it in there.
Okay.
But yeah, it would have been better, I think, if Nazis
make every show better.
I don't know that they do. I hate Illinois Nazis in particular. It's a reference to the Blues Brothers movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
I hate Illinois Nazis when they're being chased.
I should know that. That's Nazis. On the list of movies to watch again. Yeah. I've seen it.
What you think? You know what? I think my magic may have worked.
Humana, 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 hum. Humana, 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 hum.
Conjure. Let's see if we can manufacture another Free Talk Live host. Are you there?
And Mark
is here.
Woo!
Wow. It's like I'm magic. It's like I have superpowers somehow.
The power of telephony.
Well, one day you might be an intergalactic space wizard.
I can only aspire.
Would you be like the fire wizard and the ice wizard, and you'd have to fight intergalactic space wizard Mark in some sort of intergalactic space wizard duel?
Only if he puts the crown on the line.
Oh.
I was really concerned because when I called in, I was hoping that Peakless would be here because I know he's a former worker at Renaissance fairs.
It's true.
And my story has to do with the medieval fair here in Sarasota, called the Sarasota Medieval Fair. I think it's the only one in the country called a medieval fair, and it's been going on for a very long time.
I went to my first Renaissance fair earlier this year, or medieval festival, or whatever.
Oh,
how'd you like it?
Yeah, it was fun.
I enjoy them. Lots of fun, good comedy acts, that kind of thing.
Did you get to eat a turkey leg?
I did not eat the turkey leg.
Mark?
I intended to get a turkey leg. I decided I just wasn't up for it this go around.
Right.
So the answer is no. I did not have a turkey leg.
I went to a couple of them when I lived in Minnesota, and that was the whole reason to go. My girlfriend wanted to go, and I was like, sure, I'll go. I wasn't that into it, but I was like, ooh, I can get a turkey leg and walk around King Henry VIII or whatever. So
that's my favorite part of Thanksgiving.
If they serve dark meat with some gravy and mashed potatoes, I would be totally in. There would have been no. But I mean, to me, the turkey leg itself it isn't as motivating. It's iconic, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I don't, I recommend getting the turkey leg if you're up for it, but I'm just kind of not for me today.
So blended mashed potato and gravy, and you can just
dip your turkey leg in it,
or just drink it on the side. You take a bite of the turkey leg and drink the mashed potato. Gravy.
Maybe with a straw. It's like a Thanksgiving shake.
It'd have to be a thick straw.
Well, or a very thin mixture of mashed potatoes and gravy, right? Mark, did you get to walk around and say things like doth and thou and?
Well, that's actually my story. Is that I asked a gentleman, "Why dost thou touchest my sword, sir?"
Nice.
Yeah, as I was walking into the Sarasota Medieval Fair, there was a police officer. It wasn't just some guy dressed up. It was a person who genuinely believed that they have power over the rest of us. And he took zip ties and took my sword and tied it into the scabbard, right? So, what happens when you go to a Renaissance fair? You run around the house and see if you can throw something on that looks kind of medieval before you go, right?
I put on a kilt.
I had my kilt, my utility kilt on. I also wore my little king outfit because, I go to conventions. I'm the Intergalactic Space King. That's the shtick. And my crown and the whole thing. But I also have an Albion sword I got for working with Reclaiming the Blade. It's a movie from some time ago.
Okay.
And they sent Free Talk Live these swords, and I kept one. Ian doesn't like things. He doesn't like stuff around the house. So, you don't have to give him anything like this.
Could have fooled me.
So I've got this sword, and I got a little scabbard for it I had made at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and I've got it on my belt, and Jack's dressed up as my knight, and I'm the king, and it's awesome. Oh, and we were ready to go. So the blade is he then ties the blade into the scabbard, so I can't pull it. Now the weird part of all this is, you go in, and every other tent is selling swords and knives with live blades.
And this cop guy isn't there, tying them up, making sure that they can't be unsheathed, right?
Right. I mean, there's people walking around with live blades all over the place. Either performers, which I'm just going to wildly hazard a guess here. They don't check these performers for like criminal background checks or something, right? But for some reason, what to all intents and purposes, this police officer, they're not thinking of me as a political dissident. They're not thinking of me as a convicted felon. Mm-hmm. They're just saying, look, here's a 50-year-old guy and his kid going into a Ren fair. Better tie his sword up. And it's strange for, this is right after DeSantis gives his acceptance speech about how we made Florida free.
Right, yeah.
And just really odd in this wildly Republican section of Florida that they would go and, tie my sword up. Now, I immediately thought of New Hampshire, where I kind of feel like this wouldn't have happened. Now, anything can happen anywhere, and I didn't check the law on this.
Right.
I didn't begin laying out in front of cars, protesting. I just, let him put the zip ties on my sword.
Did you check with the fair organizer though to see if live?
I didn't.
Okay.
Question.
I didn't check on anything.
Did you have the sword, on your hip or on your back?
On my hip. That's the only way to draw one. That on the back thing's just for movies.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know if you were going like He-Man style or if you were going like, whatever.
You can carry a blade on your back, like if you were carrying, say, a claymore or something like that. Your serf would probably carry it on his back, or in some manner, maybe in a. But you wouldn't. You can't draw a sword from your back if it ain't length.
You can if it's curved, right? Like the samurai swords. Right. You can do that with, because they're a curved blade and it makes it easier for you to do the thing. But yeah, if it's a straight sword. The other question is, I guess you're going to hang on and tell us the rest of your story, aren't you?
Okay.
All right, stand by. I have more questions for you. We're going to talk to co-founder of Free Talk Live, Mark Edge, about him being disarmed at the Ren Fair in Florida. See what the turnout of that is here on Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Nicky Moonlight sounds like Elmo.
All right, let's do we have real Nikki?
I am. I'm here.
You're here?
I'm real.
And this is where you are?
This is where I am.
How do you know you're real?
I'm actually not quite sure that I'm real yet,
Okay.
but I'll probably know in about 20 minutes.
If you wake up a bit.
If I wake up a bit.
Welcome to the show.
Some
It is
liquid motivation.
It is the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. In your absence, I had to jiggle the thingy and work some voodoo to conjure up another host. And they're still with us, actually. Let's bring them back online. We have Mark Edge with us, who's been telling us a tale. He apparently attended
a tale of lore.
He has
from medieval times.
He hath spoken to ye of a tale. I'm not going to try and do that. But he attended a Renaissance festival, a Ren Fair, if you're into that kind of thing.
That's the hip lingo.
Yes, yeah. If you attend more than one of these and you like to go to them and keep track of them and dress up in costumes and know people involved with them, you refer to it as a Ren Fair. If you've just been to like one or two, like me, you're like a Renaissance festival, right?
Yeah,
because that really explains it. I don't know what a Ren is or why they're fair.
Yeah, I don't know if you said Ren Fair, if anybody knew.
Yeah.
Well, I think a majority of people would have no clue. Okay.
Probably. Anyway, he goes to this Renaissance festival. He's dressed up. He's with his son. His son's dressed up as a knight. He's dressed up as a king. He's got a sword that he owns and he brought with him. And
cool.
like the cop guy, I don't know if he's legit police or just Ren Fair police, or Mark can enlighten us on this, but he took a zip tie and tied the sword to the scabbard so that he couldn't unsheath the thing. And yet, throughout the Renaissance festival, there are vendors, booths selling knives and swords and all that kind of thing. So
that's when you cut the zip tie.
Right.
Say, I do what I want.
You buy a knife at the booth and use it to cut the zip tie?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mark, is that what happened?
I did not buy a knife at the booth, and I did not cut the zip ties. Mostly, I'm not looking for trouble. I just kind of curious. This is funny, strange. For a place that, what is the likelihood that somebody is going to run through a Renaissance festival with a sword and start harming people? If they were going to,
you probably would have asked the same question about a movie theater several years ago.
hold on. Movie theaters aren't populated by people with M16s.
Okay.
Renaissance fairs are populated by people with swords.
Which is probably why we
Renaissance fair and a sword. It's like trying to shoot people at a gun show. You're going to get stabbed if you are pulling out a sword and trying to stab people at a Renaissance festival.
Right, which is probably why it's the same reason that you never hear of mass shootings at gun shows. Right, you don't never hear of mass stabbings at the Ren Fair. Well, because everybody's got one,
or because they zip tie your sword when you walk in and you can't unsheath it to stab anyone. Your plans were thwarted immediately at the gate.
So if somebody went in there with the intention of stabbing people with their sword, they would just cut the zip tie or whatever device they used to secure it. But other people who are, not looking to harm people and theirs are zip tied, they're not going to think to cut it, and then they can't use it to defend themselves.
Then everyone
when
gets
the time
stabbed
comes.
at the Ren Fair.
And it's it's the same thing with guns.
Right.
The bad people that are looking to cause harm are going to have the guns, but with gun control, the good people who would have defended the rest of everyone else aren't going to have them.
Yep.
When you outlaw unzip-tied scabbards, only the outlaws have unzip-tied scabbards.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So when the guy pulls out his sword to begin stabbing people, I have to go find something to get the zip ties
Well,
off.
you're in Florida, right? Someone's got to be concealed carrying an actual firearm at the Ren Fair too.
There were 3 or 4 cops around. I mean, they would have shot him.
So,
I was going to ask. So we talked about the sword that you had a little bit. That it was yours. Is the sword that you own a decorative sword or a functional sword? Because there are 2 different kinds.
It was mildly amusing. I stopped off at one of these little shops where they're selling swords, and the guy's like, "Is that an Albion blade?" Like somehow, with just looking at the part of the handle, he could tell the manufacturer of the blade. Now, this guy obviously works within his sphere. He understood what he was seeing. It's like seeing the bumper of a Cadillac, I suppose.
He's a sword fanboy.
Like now, he is, and in fact, he was correct. He guessed it all correctly.
That's impressive.
And so I got the blade, as I said, from working with this movie called Reclaiming the Blade, which advertised on Free Talk Live years ago, and they sent me a sword, and I'm glad I have it. I love it. And so, yes, it's a real sword. Yes, it could be a real English longsword of the Norman variety, like 1066 when Richard the Bastard came and took over England.
So in a post-apocalypse world, it's a functional sword. Gotcha.
Now I recommend some kind of rapier or something like that. They're just much newer technology in comparison, but this is what people think of with swords, long blade, little cross hatch, a circle at the bottom for weight and balance.
All right. So the cop who zip-tied your sword to the scabbard, was he a legit cop? Was he just Ren Fair security?
Nope. As far as I can tell, he was Manatee County Sheriff.
Okay.
So let's take this from the libertarian perspective, right? It's a private event, right? You buy tickets to go open to the public, but there's organizers, there's people in charge, and maybe their directive was, a unzip-tied, scabbard-free zone for swords, or however that works, if I said it right, And they said, this is the directive, and they hired private security, not Manatee County Police, right? As libertarians, would we not be honorable in honoring the wishes of the owner or the organizer in following what they desire if they don't want anybody with unzip-tied swords?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay. So the fact that it was police, right, could be irrelevant because absent, with the overarching state that does everything, that's who you go to for this type of thing.
Yeah, so
I tend to think not. I tend to think that the reason that there were police at the door was because they probably have written themselves into the law as being the de facto security in these situations. You got to pay cops to do this.
Right.
They had
overtime.
Well, they love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I suspect that at a festival where everybody who works there is carrying blades, and anybody who purchased a blade from their many blade vendors is carrying a blade, that it is unlikely that they would have a rule. It's a foolish rule, no matter who made it, whether it's the legislatures or whomever.
But if you want to be safe, you just don't go to gun-free zones, right? Like gun-free zone, I'm not allowed to carry there. Can't keep myself safe. Not where I want to go. Not shopping in your establishment.
I suspect
not going to your fair.
You're allowed to conceal carry at one of these festivals because I think that's Florida law.
All right, stand by, Mark. We'll bring you back. 603-283-6160. The intergalactic space king, Mark Edge, regaling us with his trouble with swords at the Ren Fair. More Free Talk Live is coming up. 603-283-6160.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The Democrats' retention of the U.S. Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for U.S. President Joe Biden following the midterm elections. Republicans are within striking distance of taking the House of Representatives, but some lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. One of the Republicans pointing the finger of blame is Maryland's outgoing Governor Larry Hogan.
It's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race, and it's like, 3 strikes, you're out.
Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Hogan said he believes it's a mistake for Donald Trump to run for office again. The former president is expected to launch another bid for the White House on Tuesday. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told ABC's This Week that Joe Biden should run again in 2024.
President Biden has been a great president for our country. He has accomplished so much.
Mr. Biden will have to convince his critics that his age and low approval ratings aren't an obstacle. The Democrat says he'll make a decision early next year. At least 6 people have been killed and 81 others injured in an explosion in Istanbul. The incident took place in a busy pedestrianised area in the city centre early Sunday evening local time. Although Turkey's president has used the word terror in relation to the incident, it's not yet clear what caused the explosion. An investigation is currently underway. Borzu Daragahi is in Istanbul. He is the international correspondent for Britain's independent newspaper.
I spoke to witnesses. They all basically said the same thing. It was a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon on a very busy commercial thoroughway. People were walking, strolling, checking out the shops. There was an explosion, apparently coming from a park bench or one of the trees that had been tree planters that are along Istiklal Street, and everyone panicked and ran. And in the videos that you see from the scene, some verifiable, that you see the scenes of utter shock on people as they're fleeing from the scene of the explosion.
After scenes of elation following Ukraine's recapture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. Russian forces withdrew from the southern city last week, pulling back to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Charles Gibson has been following developments from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, which neighbours Russia.
Ukrainian troops and international journalists entering Kherson, which had been in Russian hands since the early days of the war, were greeted with hugs, kisses and cheers from its residents over the weekend. But now the damage left behind by Russian forces is starting to come into focus. Local officials say most homes lack basic services such as electricity, water or gas. They say work to try to restore all of that is also being held up by mines.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FM.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
done.
Thank you. I had to mentally prepare myself for that one.
You're awfully spry in the morning.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
We were talking to co-founder of Free Talk Live, Mark Edge, about his adventures at the Ren Fair, where he brought a sword, and a policeman zip-tied the sword to the scabbard so that he could not unsheath it. And we were going to continue talking to him about that, but apparently he had to go get his sword polished. So we're going to move on. We actually have a caller. It's Reverend Ratspeed. And Reverend, you say that you've been to Ren Fairs and can shed some light on this steely subject.
Reverend Ratspeed at the Ren Fair.
So I have not only been to Ren Fairs, I have worked them either as an employee or as part of the guild. So I have seen all three aspects to it.
I have one question before you start. Do you dip your turkey leg into mashed potatoes and gravy?
And how do we make that a thing?
If you want to piss off the Puritans, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So
that's an inside joke. Anyway.
I assume that you've been listening, and so tell us what you know about the Ren Fairs in relation to Mark's story.
I used to peace tie weapons. I worked at Front Gate for one season, and I
There's a term for it. Peace. Is that P-E-A-C-E or P-I-E-C-E?
P-E-A-C-E. Peace, as in peace tying a weapon.
Okay.
And so, so basically, my job was either to tear up people's tickets, but also if they had a sword, I had to look out for it, and if so, I was given a little black ribbon. We didn't use zip ties. That must be a cop thing. But we would basically tie it up to the scabbard, and there were in-character and out-of-character reasons for this. The in-character reason was a lot more fun. Basically, since the Queen is visiting the town, the Royal Guard is asking us or ordering us to do it, okay? And so the Vice Mayor was telling us to do that. That was the in-story character dialogue that we were supposed to get. However, the real reason, and this was in San Bernardino County, which is part of Southern California, the real reason is because this was a corporation and they had a liquor license. And the sheriff of San Bernardino County stated that no weapons could be allowed inside a place that served alcohol. Since we had that liquor license, there was a compromise made, and we're talking 25 years ago, okay? So that's where it started. It's been around for a long time. That's at the corporate Ren Fair. At the smaller Ren Fairs, the little mom and pop ones that are put together, on the fly, they might, rent a campground for a weekend or something. It didn't happen. It basically, the more attention and the larger the population, the greater the need to follow the rules.
Okay.
That's basically what it was.
So what about Mark's concern about open blades and real blades being sold within that facility, not being peace tied?
So that was the interesting thing. That all depended on the vendor. Basically, it was all about disclaimers and waivers and things like that. So let's say, for instance, if you went to a fine handcraft bespoke blade shop, and there were gypsies that would go from place to place. And I don't mean Romani gypsies. I just mean gypsies. They would literally go from, we called them fair gypsies, right?
From Egypt.
They would go from
Ren Fair gypsies,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And the reason why we called them gypsies is because they would literally, some of
steal
them not
people's
even
money.
have homes. They would just basically live on the land and go from fair to fair. Some of the real hardcore ones, right? Some people actually lived this as a lifestyle. So those vendors, as part of their deal to have a vendor license and they're selling blades, they were required to be the ones to make sure that when the patron picked up their item, that it was sheathed and zip tied. But this is this is Ren Fair. We're talking about, it was really lax back then.
Yeah.
Half the people didn't care. It was all about the show of following the law. Even the sheriffs would come in and have a wild time with us.
Okay, wait.
Great.
Wait, I have a question. Back up for a second.
Yeah.
You said that there are people who live this as a lifestyle. So if I understand you correctly, that there are Renaissance fair enthusiasts who are something like deadheads. And that is, they dress up for these things and they go and they tour around the country going from festival to festival?
You have to understand, this originally came from the hippie movement. This came from back in the 60s when the, what was called, I forgot the name of the family.
Rainbow Family.
Anyway.
Oh.
No, not the
Partridge Family. No, wait.
If you go back to the old 60s photographs of the original Ren fairs put on by the something family, I'd have to look up their name. I mean, it was like bell bottoms mixed with, fairy dust. It was really wild, and this was back during. So to answer your question about the lifestyle, yes, definitely, it's like Burning Man minus 400 years.
Like I've met a bunch of people in my lifetime, and I've met deadheads, and I've met people who make a lifestyle out of many different things. I have never in my life met a Ren Fair enthusiast lifestyle type person, and so now I've got something to put on my bucket list.
I mean, I definitely know some people that will travel around to all of the ones in the area. Not like the entire country, but I know some people personally who they definitely at least hit 10 of them a year.
Yeah.
Let's imagine that you live in an RV, you're into blacksmithing, and you hit up all the Ren fairs across the country. You go from state to state to state to state. That's how it used to be with some people.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really been active in the Ren fair thing for the last 5 or 6 years because, I mean, COVID hit and all that stuff, so a lot of fairs were canceled. And also I moved up here to Reno, so the closest fair that's really within reach without having to drive too far away is the one up in Tahoe, which is beautiful. But in Southern California, we had at least 5 Renaissance fairs at different parts of the year.
Right.
And so there was the German fair, which was not peace-tied. They were supposed to, but no one cared. There was the Renaissance Entertainment Corporation fair, the big one, and that one you had to peace-tie everything, and they also made sure that people didn't bring their own alcohol into the venues.
Sure,
which, of course, was,
yeah.
But people would bring their own flat. You know what? I actually used to be part of the Irish Guild there. And the Irish Guild, well, okay, I don't know how much I should say.
Drink a bunch of whiskey?
Say as much as you want. It's Free Talk Live.
We had, well, okay, so first of all, we were allowed to carry our swords around because we were part of a guild, which is kind of like a subcontract kind of thing. Guilds are their own entities, usually nonprofit, and we would do war reenactments. So we would come in, and but there would be designated areas, unless authorized to do street performances, things like that, which usually had to be blocked off so that way, little children wouldn't come up and get sliced by a weapon. The weapons would be what we call battle ready, meaning they were not sharp, and they were actual swords, like what Mark was talking about. They were not unfunctional swords. They were real handcrafted
swords, but dulled for the reenactments.
Right, because sometimes we would get banged up on the field, okay? Because, you have like 200, 300 people on a field reenacting a battle of swords with horses and shields and pikes and everything. So you had to make sure that we were all, safe and protected, right? So, but this was the Irish Guild. The person in charge of the Irish Guild, and I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say. Well, okay. He worked for the county lockup. Okay.
Okay.
He figured out a way how to. Well, God, should I bring? Okay. We had a speakeasy.
Okay.
We had a speakeasy only for those in the know.
So you did drink whiskey. Ha.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah. Oh, I was the tapster.
Can't be an Irish Guild without whiskey. I'm sorry.
I got free room and board for that. Yes, sir. And
cool.
So what we did, since he couldn't sell the alcohol, what we did is we sold little handmade Bibles, and the Bible we would punch out a verse from that Bible, and that would be your drink for the day.
Hey, Reverend,
that's hilarious.
thank you so much for the call, man. We appreciate you and enlightening us.
With his information and Mark's story, sounds like Mark was being a typical libertarian and looking to be oppressed where none was.
Wow.
Coming up, I have something to say about the gypsies and Mark.
When is the best time to buy wrapping paper? December 26. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Have you seen how much frozen turkeys are marked down the day after Thanksgiving? Beef and turkey are both rich in protein, vitamins, and minerals, but beef has twice the fats. So why gobble just one day each year? Those day after Thanksgiving doorbuster specials can be budget busters, but everything is on sale in January. And try Christmas shopping throughout the year when you spot something someone on your gift list would appreciate. And though I love the smell of a real Christmas tree, I bought a handsome $1,000 artificial tree for $400 in January. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
It's got to be a new record.
Yeah, been working on the breathing technique there for holding notes.
It's impressive.
I'm not much of a singer, but there's some things I do better than others when it comes to vocaling. So people will be like, "He's got pipes." It's like, well, just one, really.
It's a new subreddit. Hold my note.
Hold my note, bro. Oh yeah, hold my note. Before we go on, I need to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse for you to ignore this important and world-changing information. If you're already knowledgeable about crypto, check out news.bitcoin.com. Lord knows there's been a bunch of news surrounding cryptocurrency. In the last
What a
few days.
great week to be learning about cryptocurrency.
Yeah. You can get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit bitcoin.com. All right. The telephone number here, if you'd like to join us, 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
It's Nikki.
And Rich.
So we were talking about Mark Edge, co-founder of Free Talk Live, called in, regaling us with a story of how he went to a Ren fair and had to have his sword that he brought with him zip-tied to the scabbard.
Look, I'm being oppressed.
Yes, in true libertarian fashion. And then Reverend Ratspeed called and said, he's attended these things. There are apparently people who, follow Ren fairs around like the Grateful Dead and stuff like that. And that, indeed, this is called peace tying. I didn't know there was a term for it. Thank you, Reverend. It was one of his responsibilities when he worked the Ren fairs, et cetera, and so on. And so Reverend Ratspeed and Mark, both of them, one of them at least, brought up the word gypsy. And so there is a term in, we'll call it the outdoor market world, right? Whether it's a flea market, whether it's a carnival, whether it's a Ren fair, there's a term called mark.
Ah.
Right? And this means, in some subcultures, it means like sucker. Oh, that guy's really a mark.
From the carnival days where they actually put a chalk mark on your jacket to identify you as a sucker.
Well, and that's where the term comes from. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, what the gypsies would do is, like, if somebody came to their booth and had a bunch of money, right, and maybe they made a big sale or something, they wanted to let the rest of the vendors know, do him a favor. Hey, this guy's got some money, right? He's, he could, make a big sale for you. So
it's like being a white person in Mexico.
Yes.
Except this is a little more involuntary. What they would do is they would put their hand in some chalk, and then as the guy, they hand them their whatever they bought, they just put their hand on their back.
Like the Kick Me sticker.
And it would make a mark on them, and that's where this term comes from. And it was the gypsies, according to my information, that originated the term mark, and so that's where it comes from. And so we mentioned mark, we mentioned gypsies. I thought it was, a thing that we should put together and tie in for this show. The moral of the story here is don't be a mark.
Be an edge.
Be an edge, yeah. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you only need the edge.
If you're going to be a mark, be an edge.
Be a mark edge, yeah. Don't be a mark. Don't be a mark.
Or Mark E. Mark.
Ooh,
No.
Where did that come from? Old school, man. Holy cow. I was thinking, this is totally irrelevant. I was thinking earlier today about...
Let's talk about it.
About terminology that has sort of disappeared. And by that I mean like sort of language fads, right? Some of the new terminology being used these days is like based.
Yep.
Right?
That's lit.
It's lit, right? Whatever happened to fly?
Yeah.
Remember fly? People were like, oh, that's fly.
It became too fly to be a white guy, and then
it
ruined it.
And then it flew away.
Now I have that 3-6 Mafia song stuck in my head. Stay
nice.
Fly.
I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
It's a good song. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Big one in high school. It's
a
Cherry.
nice,
Oh, Cherry.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Different age.
So out here on the East Coast,
as if I don't listen to music from the 40s.
Out here on the East Coast, particularly the New England states, the word wicked has been and always will be used. However, when I was in, we'll call it middle school, that came and went as like a term to like sort of replace school. Oh, dude, that's wicked.
Yeah.
And like it was like a year and it was gone. I'm like, nothing was wicked anymore.
Bad meant good.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think actually bad might have replaced wicked.
All right.
Right?
Dang, she's bad.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that is a bad bicycle you got for Christmas, right?
Another one that we used can't be said on air. S word.
Yeah. Speaking of the S word, this is no segue at all.
Segue.
That was a segue.
It is an S word.
Could have been.
It is an S word. This from, I can't believe this headline. This from RT.com. Kentucky Fried Chicken, also known as KFC. KFC, sorry for urging Germans to mark Nazi attacks on Jews with extra cheese.
Brilliant marketing.
Already confused.
Get the world talking about Kentucky Fried Chicken. Or Kitchen Fresh Chicken when they tried to change that marketing.
Well, okay, so maybe I haven't been to a KFC in a long time, but I mean, I never get cheese on my chicken.
Oh, okay. I mean,
like,
I don't get it on the chicken, but like the Border Bowl.
Oh, that's right. They have. So I'm usually like, if I were going to go to KFC, I'd get like a bucket or something.
Sure.
You know?
No, I get it. But that thing was, I had like a one-man boycott against KFC when they took the honey barbecue wings off the main menu and made it seasonal.
Really?
I was like, screw these guys. I'm going someplace else.
Yeah.
I'm going to Popeyes.
Yeah.
And then it just happened to, I saw the advertisement for the, like, I'm going to call it the Border Bowl because I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But it was like mashed potatoes and gravy and chicken bites and cheese and, corn. And I went back and I tried that and I was like, oh, they have won me back.
And you're like, I'm back.
I'm back. Yes, it was. That is what drove me back to KFC, along with, of course, the honey barbecue wings, which is
I haven't
the
been
best
to,
thing ever.
Been to a KFC in a long time.
I can't eat many things at KFC, or I don't want to, I should say.
Sure, yeah.
But their biscuits, man, yes.
Popeyes is better.
I've never been to Popeyes before.
Oh, you're missing
Ever?
out.
No.
Try Popeyes.
There are many
better all
chicken
the way
joints that are superior to both of these that, aren't here, so I don't go to them. But when I was in the Seattle area, there was Ezel's.
Okay.
They're pretty famous. They're far superior to anything. They're real. The chicken's real. It's definitely like Louisiana style Popeyes, but like better by.
As long as we're doing that, I'm gonna give a shout out to Weese's in Spokane,
yeah.
Washington.
There you
That
go.
was like the best chicken I've ever tasted.
There you go.
Best fried chicken.
All right. So anyway, KFC sorry for urging Germans to mark Nazi attacks on Jews with extra cheese. What kind of? You cannot write comedy like this. You cannot write headlines like this, like just from your imagination.
The Germans thought it was funny.
Only real world happenings can write headlines like this.
You can't make this stuff up.
The fast food chain has apologized for its insensitive push notification on the anniversary of Kristallnacht. The German branch of the U.S. fast food chain KFC has apologized for urging customers to commemorate Kristallnacht, the 1938 Nazi pogrom against Jews, with more cheese on their crispy chicken.
Oh, so maybe cheese on the chicken is a German thing.
That's kind of disgusting.
I mean,
I'm judging them.
One side of my family is very German, and I don't ever remember cheese on chicken.
Okay. I mean, because it's not the Border Bowl, right?
I mean, unless it's like a leftover sandwich or something. Okay. Like we had chicken last night. Oh yeah, make a sandwich, put some cheese
No, I
on
get it. But it sounds like they're just pouring it over the fried chicken.
Pouring it.
I don't think that's what's happening.
Okay.
Yesterday, November 9th, an automated push notification was sent to users of the KFC app in Germany containing an insensitive and unacceptable message. We apologize for this, the company said in a statement on Thursday. According to KFC, push notifications are generated semi-automatically. Semi-automatic.
So do they have
outlawed?
Do they have
Not
some
in
sort
German.
of like AI robot?
Based on calendars listing public holidays and commemoration days. So a lot of calendar things are already automated, and
somebody
behind the scenes, they've got a calendar application that's
What calendar has that as a holiday?
apparently a German calendar. I'm just, at least this is their excuse. We'll learn more about what the heck happened here and why KFC did what they did and who's upset about it and what it means. Coming up, Free Talk Live. It's the Sunday night edition. Hour number 2 is next. 603-283-6160.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The Democrats' retention of the U.S. Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for U.S. President Joe Biden following the midterm elections. Republicans are within striking distance of taking the House of Representatives, but some lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. One of the Republicans pointing the finger of blame is Maryland's outgoing Governor Larry Hogan.
It's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race, and it's like, 3 strikes, you're out.
Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Hogan said he believes it's a mistake for Donald Trump to run for office again. The former president is expected to launch another bid for the White House on Tuesday. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told ABC's This Week that Joe Biden should run again in 2024.
President Biden has been a great president for our country. He has accomplished so much.
Mr. Biden will have to convince his critics that his age and low approval ratings aren't an obstacle. The Democrat says he'll make a decision early next year. At least 6 people have been killed and 81 others injured in an explosion in Istanbul. The incident took place in a busy pedestrianised area in the city centre early Sunday evening local time. Although Turkey's president has used the word terror in relation to the incident, it's not yet clear what caused the explosion. An investigation is currently underway. Borzu Daragahi is in Istanbul. He's the international correspondent for Britain's independent newspaper.
I spoke to witnesses. They all basically said the same thing. It was a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon on a very busy commercial thoroughway. People were walking, strolling, checking out the shops. There was an explosion, apparently coming from a park bench or one of the trees that had been tree planters that are along Istiklal Street, and everyone panicked and ran. And in the videos that you see from the scene, some verifiable, that you see the scenes of utter shock on people as they're fleeing from the scene of the explosion.
After scenes of elation following Ukraine's recapture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. Russian forces withdrew from the southern city last week, pulling back to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Charles Gibson has been following developments from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, which neighbours Russia.
Ukrainian troops and international journalists entering Kherson, which had been in Russian hands since the early days of the war, were greeted with hugs, kisses and cheers from its residents over the weekend. But now the damage left behind by Russian forces is starting to come into focus. Local officials say most homes lack basic services such as electricity, water or gas.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more today on the extraordinary weekend scenes in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson, now liberated by Kyiv's forces from Russian occupation. Many in the West are keen to view the liberation of Kherson as a turning point in the war, with some suggestions that pressure will now grow on the government of President Volodymyr Zelensky to begin negotiations with Moscow. But much hinges on whether the Russians try to recoup the ground they've lost. And Robert Fox, the defence editor of the London Evening Standard, says they might.
The trouble is that if they do that, they're not doing so well in their crudeness in the court of world and public opinion. They keep on saying, we're out for ourselves, NATO, the West, Europe is out to get us. But the constituency they're in danger of losing is the one that really counts for them, and it's the South. It's Africa, it's part of Asia, it's the Gulf. If they're no longer a valuable ally to them, and it's just beginning to dawn on the countries that have relied on grain and maize and oil and fertilizer from the Black Sea, both from Russia as well as Ukraine, that is where they're in trouble.
The Wall Street Journal on Sunday reported that the Biden administration is nudging the Ukrainian government to view Kherson's fall as an opportunity to think about negotiations before the worst of the region's winter sets in. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. The Democrats' retention of the US Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for US President Joe Biden following the midterm elections, while some Republican lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. At least 6 people have been killed in an explosion in Istanbul. And after scenes of elation following Ukraine's capture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
It's The Onion Radio News. A family of 5 is found alive in the suburbs. This is Doyle Redland reporting. The Holzapfel family, long feared missing or spiritually dead, was found alive in the Chicago suburb of Buffalo Grove today, somehow managing to survive in the hostile environment for more than 8 years. Rescuers discovered the 5-person clan after a survey plane spotted a signal fire from a barbecue grill. To protect themselves from the elements during their long ordeal, the Holzapfels fashioned a 3-bedroom ranch-style lean-to with brick facing and white aluminum siding. Paramedic Mary Gill was first on the scene.
They were all suffering from severe cultural malnutrition.
The Holzapfels have been returned to civilization for now, though trips to the Art Institute of Chicago and a nice Peruvian restaurant intended to reacquaint them with urban living have been met with confusion and resistance. Doyle Redland for The Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back.
I feel pretty good about that one. That's spot on.
We're getting there.
For us, anyway. You know, my expectations are pretty low.
2025, it'll be perfect.
Give us 5 to 7 years. That sounds like a sentence. Give us 5 to 7 years and it'll be great. This is Free Talk Live. The telephone number 603-283-6160. If you would like to join us, you can call in, talk about whatever is on your mind. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
So we started out tonight talking about Renaissance fairs and how thou might gettest their sword peace-tide.
Peace-tide.
Whatever, that's a new term for me. I learned something today.
Me too.
I feel like South Park. You know, I learned something today. Anyway, peace-tide. Yeah, that's the vocabulary word for today's edition, Free Talk Live. And then we moved on to this article from RT with one of the more bizarre headlines I've ever read in my life. KFC, sorry, for urging Germans to mark Nazi attacks on Jews with extra cheese.
On their chicken.
On their chicken, yeah. And so apparently, according to KFC, push notifications, this is through the KFC app to phones based in Germany, push notifications are generated semi-automatically based on calendars listing public holidays and commemoration days.
Right.
So this particular day, they're calling it Kristallnacht, which is the 1938 pogrom against Jews.
So I have had a Google Calendar and still use it infrequently.
Yeah.
I have never subscribed to This Week in Nazi History or Today in Nazi History.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay.
Yeah, you would think they wouldn't be celebrating this.
Well, and so I think what happened is I've seen this happen in tech, right? Tech reads a piece of data and it just goes, yep, do a thing, right?
Right.
Because that's what it's supposed to do. So instead of limiting their semi-automatic notifications to holidays, they also included commemorative days, which is what this appears to be, a commemorative day, not necessarily a holiday.
Commemoration also sounds like a positive thing.
It does.
Right? It does sound like a positive thing.
Yeah. In this, so they go on to say,
especially in Germany, right? Like the restrictions on talking about this stuff is so onerous.
Yeah.
How can you put that on a calendar?
Talk about insensitive, right?
Right.
But, maybe it was like KFC corporate calendar, which is not based in Germany, right?
Okay.
But I don't think it would be on there.
Well,
I don't know.
There's
Who knows?
a lot of things we don't know. What we do know is that in this particular case, the article continues, the KFC internal review process was not properly followed. Oh, you think? You think nobody laid their eyes on it before this thing was sent?
They're like, yeah, give all the Jews extra cheese, and then we'll know who they are.
We understand and respect the seriousness and history of this day, and we remain committed to equality, inclusion, and belonging for all.
Racist.
Yeah.
Kosher fried chicken.
Racist chicken joint. The
wait, isn't it? Oh, that's the other one. Okay.
The text of the push notification, which was sent on the 84th anniversary of Kristallnacht, also known in Germany as, I'm going to butcher this, Reichsspomgranacht.
Sounded good.
That might actually be
sounded German.
Yeah. Read, and this is the translation because it was put in German, but the English translation was remembrance of the Reichsspomgranacht. Treat yourself with more tender cheese on your crispy chicken. Now at KFC cheese.
Yep. Oh, so this is how they were promoting their new cheese,
their
essentially.
New crispy chicken sandwich.
They're
apparently
new at KFC cheese.
Yeah.
Celebrating the pogrom of the Jews.
In another push alert sent shortly afterwards, so apparently it didn't
take long to figure that one out.
KFC said it, quote, made a mistake, unquote, but screenshots of the earlier promotion had already appeared on social media, sparking the outrage. Wow, just wow, I'm utterly speechless and repulsed, said one person, the head of the pro-Israel legal group International Legal Forum, tweeted. His name is Arsen Ostrovsky. Who names their kid Ars? Oh, R-S-E-N, not O-N. Shame on you. Dalia Greeneld, the Anti-Defamation League Associate Director of European Affairs, wrote, Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, saw thousands of Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues across Germany targeted and destroyed, leaving more than 90 people dead.
I'm sure that was just a mistake, too.
It is viewed by many historians as the prelude to the Holocaust.
Extra cheese is not going to fix that.
Yeah. Sorry about the Holocaust, guys. Here's some extra cheese.
I wasn't even sorry about the Holocaust.
No sorry. Just
sorry about the lead up to it.
Hey, remember when this thing happened and, a bunch of people died and were kidnapped and robbed?
In remembrance of this horrific thing, have some extra cheese.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just counting on, Jews not eating KFC.
All right. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. We've got Major Payne calling from Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the chicken and cheese thing. The French got a sandwich they call cordon bleu.
Oh, yeah.
Which is chicken and cheese with a slab of ham on it. Verboten to the Jews.
Yep.
Right? Now, as far as the chalking thing goes, I'm kind of going to create my own segue here because this goes back to the 70s, too. First time I noticed chalking was the meter maids marking the tires.
Yep.
Oh.
Second time was a little later in that decade when I was finally old enough to go to the bar. The cops would come through the bar parking lot and put a couple stripes on your tire.
They
just had to sit at the crossroads by the street light and watch for somebody to go by with two white stripes on the sidewalk.
I did not know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe, because you still got to bust them.
The old school cop warrior stuff. But Mark called in about the whole strapping down the swords thing at the Renaissance Fair.
It's called peace tying.
Peace tying. We learned this today. That's our vocabulary word for the day.
Yes. And I agree with you. I like learning something. I feel I've wasted the day if I didn't learn something. But, so anyway, this is back in 72. I didn't even have peach fuzz on my face yet.
All right.
I take my paperboy money and I ride like 4 miles to Kmart. And I just wanted to buy a jackknife, something with like a can opener, maybe a corkscrew if I could afford the fancy one or whatever. They would not sell me a jackknife. But I was able to walk out of there with a machete.
Really?
If I'd had more money, I probably could have got me a nice Tommy Hawk, too.
Wait. You couldn't get a jackknife, but you walked out with a machete. Did you pay for the machete?
Of course.
Good question.
Okay. All right. Just
Valid.
checking. You said you walked out with one. That left some question in my mind.
I'm wondering what the reasoning is there.
We're back to
Guarded
stupid
tools versus
knife
weaponry.
laws. We're back to stupid knife laws. And this is way back in 72 when there wasn't supposed to be stupid knife laws.
Yeah.
I was only 12 years old. They wouldn't sell me a jackknife, but they're going to sell me a damn machete.
You could definitely get a pack of cigarettes, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I could walk to the store when I was 8 with a note and get a cigarette.
And beer.
Well, I never tried that, but
Well, I know people that used to do. They used to send their kids to the store for cigarettes and beer. They would send a note, and then the kid would come back with the cigarettes and beer. As long as they had the note that said it was for their mom or dad, they were like, sure, whatever, it's fine.
Well, I only lived like a half a block from the local Big Top, is what they called the store. It looked like a circus tent.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called the Big Top. But it was pretty cool.
All right, Major. Thanks for the call, man. Butter. Sounds like
mashed
butter,
potatoes.
Right? It's like James Hetfield. Please pass the butter. Hey, yo ho. Yeah. So, KFC.
Kosher fried chicken.
Kosher. I just can't believe.
That's really what they should have done. Who's their marketing team? They need to work on this.
Yeah, somebody probably got fired.
Jewish people don't eat cheese. It's ridiculous.
There's a whole bunch of Twitter, storm
commentary
about this. Yeah, and I'm not gonna really read any of it. None of it's very appealing. But it's our second vocabulary word for the night. It means but.
Okay.
Coming up on Free Talk Live, more of your calls and thoughts.
Please.
Plus, why did the Chinese man stuff his chicken with gold?
To get to the other side.
We'll find out coming up
on the border.
It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Yes. And who are we? Well, I'm the captain.
I'm Nikki.
And Richie Rich, the supergroup known as
the Sunday Night Edition
of Free Talk Live.
What's the telephone number?
603-283-6160.
Well said. Well said. You said it with like oomph.
Yeah.
She knew it this time.
Yeah.
I did. I've known it all along.
It's true. I think both y'all have heard me say it, enough at that time that you're like, okay, I know it.
It takes a minute to trigger, though.
I'll literally be like driving in my car, and my brain's like 603-283-6160, and I'm like, I can't call Free Talk Live right now. It's 3:00 in the morning.
Have you ever been trying to write down your own 603 phone number and
I don't have a 603 phone number.
Yeah, I did for a while.
But I know Aria almost gave out her number on the show before.
If you're too tired or something, you're like, either way, you're either going to give out the wrong number on the show or you're going to put down the show's number on something you're trying to fill out.
Give me a call on my personal line.
I leave a lot of messages for work, and so I have to be there's so many 603 numbers in my head that I have to get the right one in the message, that even though I know it, right, there's a little note for me to look down and see it, so I don't brain freeze into something else.
We're still going to talk about gold stuffed Chinese chicken, but first, let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We've got Greg in New York, who's probably going to talk about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Oh, what a week to talk about that.
It's been a heck of a week, huh, Greg?
Yeah, I have to say, you guys make chicken sound very exciting, though. So,
well, hopefully you continue listening after your call.
Yeah. So crypto, my co-founder sent me a video that I watched of Sam Bankman-Fried 5 months ago giving some interview, and he literally describes very cynically all the meme coins. Basically, he says they're all Ponzi schemes. He literally goes through and he's like, there's a box and it does nothing. but the market cap is maybe $20 million. And then
I saw this interview.
Discover the bot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But okay,
So-
but here's the thing, right? How is he describing? How is he not describing all cryptocurrency?
Well, to me, it doesn't matter if it's a cryptocurrency or a penny stock or whatever form it takes, right? The key is that does it have utility? Meaning, and there's a very specific meaning, which is that if a customer gets something of value that they don't want a refund, right?
Right.
Then you could say that's utility. Like if I got KFC chicken and I ate it, right? Then I can't go back and say, I want to regurgitate the chicken, give it back to you, and get my money back. So, but the way that normally the transactions happen is I can buy it, and then I can sell it for just as much, minus sometimes they have taxes and a little friction on there. But mostly, just as easily as it goes up, it can come down. And there's literally nothing at the end. So all the money comes from the people who come in at the end and buy the top. And those are the people left holding the bag all the way down.
Well, but there are people that make that same claim about Bitcoin, right? The only way, and recently the NFT phenomenon, right? The only way you make money with Bitcoin is if you bought low and sell it to some sucker later for a lot more than you paid for it. Like the utility is using it as money, right? That's how we find value in cryptocurrency. And the truth is, you could theoretically do that with any other, meme coin, for lack of a better term, anything, right? You launch the token or the coin, right? And people trade it amongst themselves, right? Some guy buys, two pizzas for, 100,000 FTT tokens, and all of a sudden that thing has value. Is it $20 million? Who knows? But he's not necessarily wrong that the value is derived from the people trading it.
I like the idea of a decentralized money supply, right? I think that Bitcoin was supposed to be that, and the Satoshi white paper was titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer cash system. But I don't think even like the staunchest Bitcoin maximalists would claim that Bitcoin is a very good peer-to-peer cash system that people use in their everyday life.
Not anymore, because it failed to scale to that as the price went up.
But it will be with Lightning. Sorry, I had a hard time saying that with a straight face.
Well, okay, but if you trade in Bitcoin, right, on the Lightning Network, the transaction fees are relatively low, and it makes it more like it was before.
That's true, and I don't count the Lightning Network out. But I will say, I mean, this is why I started Intercoin, at this point 4 or 5 years ago, because first of all, I didn't want there to be one coin for the whole world. I think communities should each have their own decision-making of what they want to do with their coin.
Yeah, there should be a market for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's also an old XKCD comic joke, right? There's 15 coins, and they're all doing different. There should be one coin to rule them all, and all of a sudden there's 16 competing coins. Because someone introduced something new that they said did something ever so slightly different from everything else.
Exactly. No, I think, but the main thing, and why Intercoin has taken this long, also, and why we didn't raise like $100 million in some kind of thing, we have to be very careful. One of the things is it takes time to build a product, and when you build the product, then you need to get customers, and then you need to get adoption and mass market. That's how Amazon makes money. So, the reason that people that stocks are worth anything, and I'm saying stocks like in the public stock market, is that the companies serve the public. They actually make things that people want, and the people, guess what? They don't refund 100% of their money all the time.
Right.
So that's where the money comes from. And I think every project in the end, look, it's fine to fail. It's fine if you invest in some NFT project that gives you access to a gym membership, and then they never build the gym, or the gym fails, nobody wants the gym. Fine, at least you tried. But if you don't even try, then it's fine. But it's just a zero-sum game, and someone will be left holding the bag.
So for most of the meme coins, what's the product, right? If I'm buying stock in a company through their token, right? What's the product or service that they're offering above and beyond just another cryptocurrency acting as money.
If it was completely unauthorized, stock, like if somebody made up Apple shares weren't real and they put it on exchange, then yeah, that would be very dubious. But the actual Apple shares, presumably you could get dividends from Apple, you could cash them in. Only the whales are the ones that really matter. These big,
I get that for the stock market. I'm saying crypto. Like if someone launches a new crypto token or cryptocurrency or crypto coin, right, and puts it out on the exchanges, what's the product or service behind that which is going to entice people to invest in those tokens?
Oh, well, I'll tell you if you bring me back.
All right, stand by, Greg. Stand by. 603-283-6160, talking about the use, the utility, and the value in cryptocurrency and how that comes to be. More Free Talk Live is next. More of your calls and thoughts coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The Democrats' retention of the U.S. Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for U.S. President Joe Biden following the midterm elections. Republicans are within striking distance of taking the House of Representatives, but some lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. One of the Republicans pointing the finger of blame is Maryland's outgoing Governor Larry Hogan.
It's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race, and it's like, 3 strikes, you're out.
Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Hogan said he believes it's a mistake for Donald Trump to run for office again. The former president is expected to launch another bid for the White House on Tuesday. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told ABC's This Week that Joe Biden should run again in 2024.
President Biden has been a great president for our country. He has accomplished so much.
Mr. Biden will have to convince his critics that his age and low approval ratings aren't an obstacle. The Democrat says he'll make a decision early next year. At least 6 people have been killed and 81 others injured in an explosion in Istanbul. The incident took place in a busy pedestrianised area in the city's centre early Sunday evening local time. Although Turkey's president has used the word terror in relation to the incident, it's not yet clear what caused the explosion. An investigation is currently underway. Borzu Daragahi is in Istanbul. He's the international correspondent for Britain's independent newspaper.
I spoke to witnesses. They all basically said the same thing. It was a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon on a very busy commercial thoroughway. People were walking, strolling, checking out the shops. There was an explosion, apparently coming from a park bench or one of the trees that had been tree planters that are along Istiklal Street, and everyone panicked and ran. And in the videos that you see from the scene, some verifiable that you see the scenes of utter shock on people as they're fleeing from the scene of the explosion.
After scenes of elation following Ukraine's recapture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. Russian forces withdrew from the southern city last week, pulling back to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Charles Gibson has been following developments from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, which neighbours Russia.
Ukrainian troops and international journalists entering Kherson, which had been in Russian hands since the early days of the war, were greeted with hugs, kisses and cheers from its residents over the weekend. But now the damage left behind by Russian forces is starting to come into focus. Local officials say most homes lack basic services such as electricity, water or gas. They say work to try to restore all of that is also being held up by mines.
From bureaus worldwide, this is
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
I SERPed.
We'll leave it to the professionals.
I SERPed. You SERPed. We all SERPed for you SERP.
Nikki jumped the gun before she was unmuted.
I was unclear with my pointing as to whose turn it was. I'd forgotten. So I let you two decide, and well, I guess Richie Rich won. Even though Nikki kind of tried to, I just hadn't.
I tried to snag it from him, but
I was gonna let her have it, but when I glanced over, she was already giggling at the lack of audio coming through.
I hadn't yet unmuted the mics when she piped
and
in,
I did do it the last time. So
you got to wait for him
he
to
is
lift
the
his
rightful
finger up.
owner.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you weren't. Yeah. So okay.
All right. It is Free Talk Live. Who are these babbling people behind these microphones?
Got to be more animated with the unmute.
Yeah.
Well, these
It'd be
babbling
helpful.
people are
Nikki
and Richie Rich,
and I am the captain. We were talking to Greg in New York as I suffer an on-the-job injury.
Workers' comp.
Greg, you're back on Free Talk Live. We
Paid
were
out of
talking
FTT.
about. You and Richie Rich were having a conversation about cryptocurrency value and how their utility is, how it comes into existence.
Yep.
So, well, I was saying to Richie Rich during the break that, in my opinion, the value, I don't know if this equates utility, but the value of Bitcoin has always been trust.
Yeah, but that is true for even fiat currencies issued by nation states.
Well, right. That's why people use fiat currencies, is because they have to trust this centralized, Federal Reserve in our case.
Well, they're forced to.
They're forced to. They have no choice. Whereas cryptocurrency decentralizes that, as long as the cryptocurrency is truly decentralized.
Sure.
And it eliminates your dependency on a monolithic government structure or government-backed structure for the trust. It replaces that with decentralized trust. And so, to me, that's where the value comes from.
Exactly. I think Intercoin was started with that same ethos. It's just that, you want to have the currency have mainstream adoption. So, you look at Bitcoin or even Ethereum tokens, like take all Ethereum tokens combined, right? And you go out and you look in the world, like how many people are using them in everyday life versus how many people are using WeChat in China to pay for, goods and services, right? It's like millions of merchants. So in that same time that crypto's been around, right, WeChat has taken over commerce in China. There's other apps like Alibaba, Alipay, and there's a lot of, PayPal, whatever. Venmo. My point is that it's possible to create a very well-adopted payment system. The question is what's backing it. And, most of these are centralized and backed by the fiat, and they're working with the government, like WeChat's working with the Chinese government, right? So Intercoin was sort of like, hey, let's make a decentralized version of that. And look, Bitcoin or any other crypto can do the same thing. People can decide to start accepting payments in that currency, right?
Right.
It's just that Bitcoin can't scale very well, but maybe they'll make some layer twos that, denominated in Bitcoin. But for whatever reason, right, it's been 10 years and Bitcoin hasn't become a peer-to-peer cash system. So, it basically is just there like a commodity. Like
well, sure, but any place that accepts cryptocurrency for trade of products or services takes Bitcoin first, or also takes Bitcoin.
Yeah, usually that's the start.
Right.
Also, too, I think as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, I think the reason that there isn't more adoption is because we're still so early in the space. I know it's been a decade, but apparently people don't move that fast. And why is that? It's because the UIs still suck.
And I don't even want wide adoption, right? This the promise that they gave us, Bitcoin gave us early on, was like, this gets you out of the Federal Reserve System. This is internet anarchist money.
Yes.
Sold.
Yep.
Where can I get some? Wire some money to Europe.
Yep.
Okay, that's a little bit more difficult than I wanted. But still, that was the promise. So I don't want it to be on exchanges. I don't want those exchanges tied to the federal government banking system, the Federal Reserve System. I don't want it insured by the FDIC, right? I want it as decentralized as you could possibly get it, where I'm just trading amongst my peers with magic internet money.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I will not lose sleep at night if there isn't wide adoption of cryptocurrency. I think more people should be using it, but if... and I hate using the word normies, but I'm going to because it's the easiest way to describe this type of people. But if the normies don't want to use crypto and, gold and silver and they want to keep using crap government money, then that's on them. Like, that doesn't affect me in our movement.
Well, and I think,
as far as I'm concerned,
like as a technology person, I've been working in technology for a couple decades or so. Not a couple dozen decades, but like 22, 25 years, something like that. I've been doing tech support of one flavor or another. One of the things that excites me about, I'm going to call it the blockchain, because like Bitcoin is just the first thing that, the killer app, if you will, about blockchain technology. The thing that excites me as an anarchist about blockchain technology is that it has the power to replace the bureaucracy of government.
Sure.
And so that's what I'm excited about. Like, in addition to being able to, develop magic internet money of whatever flavor you want, it also has the ability to replace bureaucracy and thus reduce governments to either nothing or force them into becoming competing service agencies, which then just makes them a market entity, which is what we all want anyway.
Right. But when Sam Bankman-Fried comes out and says, like, we have this empty box and we're going to stake it with token, and the token's going to be worth $20 million. He's not necessarily wrong in the current space, right? There's no product or service behind most of the meme coins. So you introduce one off because he's like the man or whatever off whatever exchange that he's built. There's that level of trust. He goes, well, I'm issuing this token, puts it out in the open market. It could very well easily be bought up to $20 million. Greg?
Yeah, like everything you all have said is right. And by the way, when I say the mainstream adoption, I don't mean giant centralized exchanges or states and governments and big tech adopting it. Not at all. I think it should be we the people, right? Bottom up.
Grassroots.
But I don't care if my parents or my grandparents use it.
No, but this is the thing. It still needs to be mainstream adopted, meaning on Main Street, we have to actually use it. And this is what I'm trying to say. There's a token that's started by company X, and it's a utility token for their thing, okay? And they issue it and whatever. They have some issuance schedule that, every 10 minutes a little bit comes up. Fine. There's nothing stopping other people from taking that currency and using it. The one with the most adoption is, to me, the more important thing. So Intercoin, like the stated goal is like to be the most adopted, like, payment system crypto payment system in the world. And the whole point is, if you're going to make such a system, it's got to be decentralized, meaning if you have a community and it issues a currency, let's say it's a city or it's Free Talk Live itself, right, the community, whatever, your coin, you should not be, like, it should be hard for a bank like Goldman Sachs or Sam Bankman-Fried or CZ from Binance to amass so much of your currency, of your community, that he could push you around and say, oh, it would be a real shame if we dumped your currency and hurt your community. But that's what Goldman Sachs did with bread. They cornered the market in bread and all of these things. So one of the big things...
in fairness, then that's kind of what Binance did to Sam Bankman-Fried.
Exactly. And so their feud on Twitter led to, that's crazy, right? Implosion of FTX and all the investors' money. could be gone.
Hey, Greg, thank you for the call. We appreciate you. Feel free to call back any other nights. We love hearing from you and getting more educated on crypto from your perspective. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. We got more of your calls and thoughts. Plus, we're going to talk about this Chinese chicken stuffed with gold.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. It says with zero fanfare. Did you just snort?
No, it was my snoring.
Oh, I thought you were...
Pig noises.
No cops allowed. 603-283-6160. I don't know why I'm talking like this suddenly.
Okay, Captain Kirk.
But it is Free Talk Live. You can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. Yes, you can talk about anything we've been talking about, or you can bring up another subject. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Thanks, man.
Put an end to this nonsense. Post-haste.
Let's just go to the phones. We've got Jerome calling from South Carolina. Jerome, something is on your mind. What is it?
Crypto is the biggest scam since that woman that got convicted for this company she ran where they could do like blood tests and tell you all about
Elizabeth something or other.
I disagree. Not with your statement specifically, even though I kind of do. But if it were the biggest scam, it would be the biggest scam since the current biggest scam that everybody continues to fall for, and that is government.
Oh, yeah. Donald John Trump, the man who says, if they win, I get all the credit, but if they lose, I don't take any blame.
That's every politician.
That's why I'm not a Republican.
That's every politician.
Jerome, I have a question for you. Do you trust the U.S. dollar?
Yes, tricky, Nikki.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I trust him more than the doggone cryptocurrency.
Why?
Hey, you know what? Brady and his old lady, his ex-old lady, they want to know, where's our $650
God, you're talking about like famous people.
Find? Huh?
Why do you even pay attention to famous people? They have no impact on your life.
Where is Brady, Mr. Smart businessman, Hall of Famer?
Dude, Mike Brady retired a long time ago.
Tom Brady.
You know what I want to know? So we've had so much inflation recently. The U.S. dollar's value is plummeting. And people want to talk about crypto. Oh, Bitcoin is low. It's losing its value. It's losing its value. The U.S. dollar is losing its value. And you can choose to participate in cryptocurrency or to not participate in cryptocurrency.
Yep.
You can learn about it and take that risk or not. But the U.S. dollar is being forced upon us, and we don't have the choice to use it or not. We're essentially being forced to use it. So when that loses value, you're just essentially screwed.
And let him be, because he just said, I choose not to. Right? Fine.
Well, what about, I'm getting screwed too. I don't want to get screwed.
Where is Sam Bankman-Fried? Because the government, GUVMENT, is looking for him. Where is he? And he transferred a whole pile of money.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Bankman-Fried. That's the guy that runs the... Oh, did you hear about the Miami Heat basketball team? They had their arena renamed after him. The FTX is a sponsor.
Yeah, we talked about that here on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, now they got to drop him because he's a con artist.
Yes, he is. He absolutely is. What's your point?
Where's their money? Where is Tom Brady and his ex-old lady money? They're going to lose $650 million.
That sucks.
Hello?
Okay.
I mean, people lose that in USD too. You can get scammed in any form of currency.
Right. I don't think anyone here is claiming that cryptocurrency is risk-free.
I've never said that. Yeah.
Right. So they took a risk. They made an investment in a terrible product or a terrible token or a terrible cryptocurrency, and they lost money. Like, that's part of the game when you start day trading in altcoins.
Well, and nothing is risk-free. Like, I can't even get in my car and go to work without that being risk-free. You know?
I can't talk about freedom on a nationally syndicated radio show without risk.
Yeah.
Right. You know, we can't sit here in the studio without risk that it's going to be raided again.
So if you're concerned about Tom Brady's money, it's gone.
And he's still fine. He's still rich.
Stolen and gone.
Tom Brady and his ex-old lady's money.
Whatever.
Hey, I saw a story about crypto on 60 Minutes a couple of months ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Not under no circumstances would I ever put money in a bunch of garbage like that.
Okay. And I was saying this last segment too. I'm going to lose no sleep if people don't want to invest in crypto. Like that's totally cool.
Yeah, that's the thing about an emerging market, which is what cryptocurrency is. And if you take a look at when any other thing that didn't exist before comes into existence, that's called an emerging market. So I don't know, take television for example, right? When the first televisions came out, there was risk. You didn't know if you were buying a good television set, a bad television set, if something was going to come out tomorrow that had more features than or more channels available than the one that you bought today. You didn't know if you were going to overpay by 20 times over what your neighbor paid. So this is what happens in emerging markets. Cryptocurrency is still an emerging market, and what we're seeing is the exact same thing we see in any other emerging market, and that is there's going to be some con men who are going to con some people. So,
and we are not going to call for government regulation to interfere with that.
Right.
No thanks.
You know what crypto reminds me of? When you watch Let's Make a Deal and they have the Zonk, I said, oh yeah, I'm not investing in that mess.
No, actually, what crypto is more reminiscent of is a technology that we have all come to know and use, including you, Jerome, and that is the internet. The internet is a closer thing to cryptocurrency than anything else.
You know, I have never once looked at crypto as an investment.
Oh, you're missing out.
I just, I use it as currency. I hold on to it. I'm not interested in getting rich off of crypto. It's more, I have crypto for the potential and for the possibilities of it.
But
also,
even
for the technology.
But even in doing so, because you don't want to be using U.S. dollars.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because I don't want to be using U.S. dollars.
It's a more morally acceptable choice than government money.
Hey, can I tell Nikki something?
Sure. I don't know, can you?
Nikki, I don't know you from nobody, but I wouldn't even invest
they look totally different.
Millions in that mess. You know that? I like you that much. I would never do that to you.
Yeah.
Nikki. In spite of the fact you don't say you wouldn't lose any sleep. You wouldn't have to worry about losing any sleep over me doing that because Jerome don't play that investment scam stuff.
If my crypto wallet was emptied tomorrow, I wouldn't, I'd be like, oh, that sucks, but...
Oh, no, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be upset, but the way I've gotten crypto historically is, selling goods and services.
Earn it.
I've earned it, so, just...
It's my crypto and I'll cry if I want to.
Except I'm not crying.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm the Bitcoin maximalist around here, even though I have other coins.
Yeah.
And for me, they go like, well, the price is going up.
Jerome, hang on.
The price is going up. What should I do? I'm like, buy Bitcoin. Like, oh my God, the price is crashing. What should I do? I'm like,
thanks for the call, Jerome.
Buy Bitcoin. Right? For me, the utility works as an investment, but also because it's traded and used for transactional goods and services. Yeah. That's the long-term potential, right? It's transcended that introductory phase like all the other meme coins, where it's just, hey, we got this token and we're going to be mining more of it.
Yeah.
Right. It's the use case has been demonstrated in Bitcoin.
Yes.
From the moment that dude bought his pizzas.
Right.
With it, that was the example that go like, whoa, this could actually work. Right. And then it did.
Yeah.
And so everything else that's come along has tried to mimic that or scam people.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the scams outweigh the good stuff.
Yeah, it's not the first one either. What was the old school one? The OneCoin? Remember that?
I do not remember OneCoin.
It was a big-time scam. It was people, lavishly throwing parties for their investors and then making off with all the money. And there's books been written about the lady who's still, like, on the lam somehow. She escaped with a bunch of money and that kind of thing. So
Terra Luna from a couple of months ago.
Yeah. But, I mean, the same thing can be said about anything, right? Like, you look at some of, like, these multi-level marketing places, right? They've scammed some big bucks out of people using regular government money. So, like, just because the form of money has been used doesn't mean that the form of money itself is faulty. It means that people are faulty by falling for scams.
The con game existed prior to cryptocurrency, and crypto is just a way to use the con game going forward.
What cryptocurrency is, however, in my opinion, is a life-changing technology. I equate it with the telegraph, the telephone, the cell phone, the pager, the television, cable TV, the internet, you name it. It's just the next one in line, and there's going to be something that comes next. What is it? I don't know.
U.S. dollar digital currency. What is it? USDC?
That won't be a life-changing technology. No thanks. Yeah. Coming up, we're going to get around to talking about this Chinese gold stuffed chicken and perhaps something about toads.
Toad?
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The Democrats' retention of the U.S. Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for U.S. President Joe Biden following the midterm elections. Republicans are within striking distance of taking the House of Representatives, but some lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. One of the Republicans pointing the finger of blame is Maryland's outgoing Governor Larry Hogan.
It's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race, and it's like, 3 strikes, you're out.
Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Hogan said he believes it's a mistake for Donald Trump to run for office again. The former president is expected to launch another bid for the White House on Tuesday. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told ABC's This Week that Joe Biden should run again in 2024.
President Biden has been a great president for our country. He has accomplished so much.
Mr. Biden will have to convince his critics that his age and low approval ratings aren't an obstacle. The Democrat says he'll make a decision early next year. At least 6 people have been killed and 81 others injured in an explosion in Istanbul. The incident took place in a busy pedestrianised area in the city's centre early Sunday evening local time. Although Turkey's president has used the word terror in relation to the incident, it's not yet clear what caused the explosion. An investigation is currently underway. Borzu Daragahi is in Istanbul. He's the international correspondent for Britain's independent newspaper.
I spoke to witnesses. They all basically said the same thing. It was a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon on a very busy commercial thoroughway. People were walking, strolling, checking out the shops. There was an explosion, apparently coming from a park bench or one of the trees that had been tree planters that are along Istiklal Street, and everyone panicked and ran. And in the videos that you see from the scene, some verifiable that you see the scenes of utter shock on people as they're fleeing from the scene of the explosion.
After scenes of elation following Ukraine's recapture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. Russian forces withdrew from the southern city last week, pulling back to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Charles Gibson has been following developments from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, which neighbours Russia.
Ukrainian troops and international journalists entering Kherson, which had been in Russian hands since the early days of the war, were greeted with hugs, kisses and cheers from its residents over the weekend. But now the damage left behind by Russian forces is starting to come into focus. Local officials say most homes lack basic services such as electricity, water or gas.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more today on the extraordinary weekend scenes in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson, now liberated by Kyiv's forces from Russian occupation. Many in the West are keen to view the liberation of Kherson as a turning point in the war, with some suggestions that pressure will now grow on the government of President Volodymyr Zelensky to begin negotiations with Moscow. But much hinges on whether the Russians try to recoup the ground they've lost. And Robert Fox, the defence editor of the London Evening Standard, says they might.
The trouble is that if they do that, they're not doing so well in their crudeness in the court of world and public opinion. They keep on saying, we're out for ourselves, NATO, the West, Europe is out to get us. But the constituency they're in danger of losing is the one that really counts for them, and it's the South. It's Africa, it's part of Asia, it's the Gulf. If they're no longer a valuable ally to them. And it's just beginning to dawn on the countries that have relied on grain and maize and oil and fertilizer from the Black Sea, both from Russia as well as Ukraine. That is where they're in trouble.
The Wall Street Journal on Sunday reported that the Biden administration is nudging the Ukrainian government to view Kherson's fall as an opportunity to think about negotiations before the worst of the region's winter sets in. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. The Democrats' retention of the U.S. Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for U.S. President Joe Biden following the midterm elections, while some Republican lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. At least 6 people have been killed in an explosion in Istanbul. And after scenes of elation following Ukraine's capture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
The push to legalize marijuana is gaining momentum. These prescription doobies will do a whole lot more than just give patients a case of the munchies. Proponents are piping up to say that medical marijuana can help patients with some of the chronic illnesses that have been majorly killing their buzz. Unfortunately, 36 U.S. states are still not a kind bud of the legalization argument. But in states that do have the plan, the results have been, well, pretty far out, man. Patients nationwide are bluntly asking state legislatures to finally mellow out so that they and their doctors can work jointly to stop the suffering that's making a hash of their lives.
So it's clearly an issue that means a lot to these patients.
So states shouldn't toke their time with this policy. We'd be upset if patients had to wait a long time.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
And we're back. Whoa, where are we?
I don't know.
Are we here? Are we back? What's going on?
I was trying to do the long hold like the captain does.
Oh, I wasn't.
I missed it.
Yeah, I missed the memo on that.
I thought we were freestyling that one.
Okay.
Well, we did actually. It's just a little more free than any of us expected.
We need some regulations on this.
This is Free Talk Live.
Tie it all together.
We have to regulate this thing you say after you come back from the commercials every time. We must regulate that somewhere.
The thing we made up that isn't even real.
Right. Yeah. Well, to be fair, we stole it. borrowed it.
We made it our own.
We did make it our own.
We did
absolutely-
imitate. Yeah, we just
Right.
it's really a parody of something else, is what it is.
It's ironically a parody of a parody.
Even
considering the-
more, yeah, it's a meta parody.
It's a meta parody.
Yeah,
Love that.
I hate that Facebook has compromised that word.
Meta?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for ruining everything, Facebook.
Yeah. Because like you used to refer to something as meta if it was like 2 levels deep or more, or whatever, into a thing like, whoa, that's meta.
Yeah.
Look at
like
that.
Inception.
You know?
They co-opted the terminology for their own corporate profits.
Yeah, and so now if I say that word, I'm inadvertently advertising for them, or at least, solidifying their brand in people's heads.
Maybe.
So we need a new word then.
We do.
Because unfortunately, they stole our word.
Okay. To be fair, do you think the vast majority of people really thinks of Facebook as meta?
Yeah. Well, no, but kind of.
Now you're advertising for them again.
Okay. Well, let me advertise for one more then. Like we still talk about Google as the parent company, but it's Alphabet, right?
Oh.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Really?
See,
Yeah.
Nikki didn't even know.
Yeah, see?
It's
That proved your point very
Google-
well because that was genuine.
Google changed their name to Alphabet, of which Google is like a product
Yeah.
of the bigger Alphabet company.
Yeah.
So Facebook changed their name to Meta, right? And now
But
they
I'm
have
sure-
Facebook by Meta. And
But
all the other
also,
nonsense.
Google became we'll call it the Kleenex of the search engine industry.
Sure.
Right? In that when somebody says Kleenex, they mean facial tissue.
Right.
But, if you go into the store and you buy a box of facial tissue and you bring it home, somebody's like, oh, thanks for buying Kleenex, hon.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
Zipper got co-opted in the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it supposed to be called?
I don't know what it was used to be called, but Zipper was a brand name, like the YKK company. Check your Zipper. Probably says YKK on it.
I think it does, actually. The little implant on the little thing does say. I always wondered about why it said YKK. I just thought that was
That's the company that manufactures zippers.
I learned something today. She's looking at her zipper right now.
It does. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh my God, it really does.
I've never noticed that. I know it said anything.
Yeah. Well, now you know. Knowing is half the battle.
The more you know.
The more you know, yes.
Learning on Free Talk Live.
603-283-6160 is the phone number if you'd like to join us in the
Back
studio.
to the nonsense.
In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
It's Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
What is that coffee?
It is coffee.
All right. So,
I'm getting ready for my morning.
Yes, you're still.
Well, it's probably afternoon at this point. Somewhere.
Get a little pick me up, hour 3, Free Talk Live.
Liquid motivation.
Liquid sleep, as I like to call it.
Yep.
Before we go on, I want to say thank you to Jonathan. He is tonight's amplifier. Jonathan is a silver level amplifier, and that means he gives $5 a month to help get Free Talk Live on more radio stations through the AMPS program. That's advertise, market, promote, and support. And you can become an amplifier too over at amps.freetalklive.com. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the hosts, the co-hosts, the callers, the topics, the guests that we feature on this show, and you believe that the message of freedom, peace, liberty, prosperity should be spread further, you can help us get on more radio stations. We're on something like 200 now. We could be on 250, 300, 400. Not out of the question. It's all up to you. Please visit amps.freetalklive.com and consider becoming an amplifier. There are some little perks that you get in different levels, depending on how much you give. We only ask for $5 a month. You can give more if you like. And thank you again to Jonathan for your contribution. We can't do this without you. amps.freetalklive.com. All right. We have sort of talked about, without talking about, the chicken stuffed with gold bars.
Oh, we teased it.
Found in a corrupt official's freezer.
That son of a...
Officers also dug out stacks of debit cards and gift cards from his bamboo garden. So this is obviously coming from China.
China guy.
China.
I just I assume that based on the bamboo garden portion. Not that non-Chinese people can't have bamboo gardens, but I would assume it's more common there.
We're calling this the Wuhan corruption because it's from China.
This from Richie brought this in from Vice.com. A new video released by a Chinese anti-corruption agency revealed a corrupt Chinese official's unusual method of hiding his ill-gotten gains.
It's great.
Last April, authorities in the eastern province of Zhejiang, butchering that, launched an official probe into Zhang Zunbo, a retired top official at the prefecture level in the city of Quzhou, who was accused of receiving millions in bribes from different corporate executives.
You don't say. Corporations bribing politicians in China?
It doesn't just happen in the U.S. I mean, it does happen in the U.S. a lot. But, we've sort of made it like, there's not a whole lot of like covertness to it anymore. It's just more like check a box on a form. Do you want to bribe the official? Yes, I do.
Well, and they renamed it, right? It's called lobbying.
Right, yeah.
Corporate lobbyists.
Zhang confessed a day after the investigation began. The video posted on Sunday by the Provincial Supervisory Committee on the social media platform WeChat showed footage of officers raiding his mansion.
Yeah, politicians get mansions.
Yeah. Why do governors have mansions anyway?
It's a great question.
Governors, say the governor's mansion. It's like, why do governors get mansions?
Because they're the top politician in that little fiefdom.
So, but shouldn't they have to just buy a house like everybody else?
Well, they do. They just have 2 houses now.
Yeah.
Or 3.
They have
or
their
4.
house and they
or
live
5.
in the governor's
So
mansion.
then we should be able to sell the mansions and return all that money back to the people, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Start with the White House.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, they found bags after bags after bags of frozen meat in his freezer, including chickens, ducks, and fish, stuffed with plastic-wrapped gold bars and jewelry.
Can you imagine that conversation? Like, okay, Jing Zhong, we're going to open your freezer. Are we going to find anything out of the ordinary?
Like, just got some frozen,
chickens.
Just some chickens and some ducks.
Just got some food in there, They also uncovered stacks of debit and gift cards he had buried under bamboo trees in the garden.
That's a little weird.
It also showed Zhang dressed in a white hazmat suit, sobbing in court. All right, China's still all freaked out about everybody's wearing hazmat suits, I guess. It's the new mask.
That just makes it so much funnier.
Hazmat suits in China are the new masks.
Yep.
He was sobbing in court. I accept the legal consequences and deeply regret my crimes.
No, he doesn't. He regrets getting caught.
Yeah, that's it. That's the truth.
How did he get caught?
Just cut right to the heart of it.
Like that.
Yeah.
He was a retired top official, right? Which means he upset somebody, right? And they went,
someone must have ratted on him.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny because they must have really known where the money was too, because those are pretty solid hiding places. Like if I was searching someone's house for gold, I wouldn't check in their freezer and start looking in frozen chickens
inside of a
that
frozen
are
chicken.
and under the bamboo garden and stuff like that.
Although they do suggest that's where you put your insurance policy in a Ziploc in the freezer.
Really?
Because it'll survive most natural disasters. And if you want to file a claim on your insurance,
you don't have
to prove those
fireproof
documents.
safe and whatnot. Yeah.
Zhang used his power as a tool to gather money, the video said. He allegedly received over 1 million yuan in gifts from business executives and his subordinates during the Lunar New Year holidays from 1998 to 2018.
And didn't even enjoy spending it because he stashed it all.
We'll get to the heart of the matter or talk a little bit more about this odd story from a politician who's obviously very corrupt. Coming up on Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
gold, and silver, you can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold back. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to MyMagicMud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. MyMagicMud.com, FTL20.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, we are. And?
Yes.
And?
We're free.
And?
We're live.
And we're Free Talk Live.
Ah!
Wow, what a great name. If only there was some way that folks who wanted to join our conversation could do so.
Oh, I wish. That would be awesome.
What kind of a method would we use, Richie Rich?
A phone, of course.
And if there were a number, what would it be?
603-283-6160. Booyakasha.
Slam dunk.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah. You think we can squeeze out another caller?
We definitely can.
I don't know. I'm pretty wiped.
We've got Turd Ferguson calling from Pennsylvania. Turd, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, well, I don't know if Jerome is still listening. I hope he is. Because,
I assume he is, because he's got nothing better to do, and he enjoys listening to talk radio all of the time, is overly concerned about politics and apparently famous people.
Unhealthy obsession with Trump.
Yeah, well, that might be true. To be honest, it actually surprises me that Jerome listens to Free Talk Live and other forms of talk radio, because he seems like the kind of guy who sits in front of the television and watches MSNBC all day long.
Well, that too, probably.
I think he's doing that, but I also think he's probably got. I just have this vision of like one of my grandfathers used to have the old one-speaker AM radio with the antenna pulled all the way out on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen. And while he's going about doing other stuff, right, fixing the lawnmower or whatever, this thing is just on. And
Wallpaper noises.
Yeah, I think Jerome just leaves the radio on whatever his favorite, maybe only talk radio station.
Yeah, it's like subliminal brainwashing.
Yeah, and he just leaves it on. So he hears all of the programming on whatever station he's listening to before us, which is obviously some sort of conservative-leaning, programming.
Which is even weirder that he listens to it.
And then us. And then we come out of nowhere. And so he's always trying to, react to the previous shows that he's listened to while calling and talking to us, which is really bizarre.
And that must be it, because it's that weird connection of like, oh, well, we're on this conservative channel, so we must also fit that box, which isn't necessarily true.
And
clearly,
after years
because we're
of
not
calling in.
Yeah. And
he hasn't figured it out yet.
After years of us saying, hey, we're not conservative or liberal, like this is a different thing, it's still, it's just that two-party system. Like, people cannot fathom anything besides left and right.
Coke or Pepsi.
That's it.
Turd.
Well,
Ferguson.
Jerome also said something that was really surprising to me in his last call, and that's that he claims that he trusts the United States dollar.
Right.
And that's just crazy to me. I mean, and Jerome, if you're listening right now, I don't know if you know this, but the dollar, the United States dollar, is controlled by an entity called the Federal Reserve, which is completely unaccountable to the people.
And what group of people is behind that thing?
Look, they're a completely separate entity from the United States government that the people don't get to vote on at all. And they operate behind closed doors, and nobody knows what they're doing behind these closed doors. And I don't know if Jerome knows this either, but we also function on something called the fractional reserve banking system. And these fractional reserves that are handed out to the banks, to the banking cartel by the Federal Reserve, nobody knows where these are going. Nobody knows who's getting the money when it goes there. And I don't know if Jerome knows any of this, but if he's still listening, he should read a book called "End the Fed" by Ron Paul. And
I doubt it.
I really think that book would be really good for Jerome to read, because because if he trusts the United States dollar more than like other, and by the way, I'm a crypto skeptic myself, even though that I
should be.
I made a bunch of money off it, but I mean, I would never in a million years trust the dollar. So that's just crazy to me,
Yeah, I feel like Jerome he's just at a point where his head is so filled with, we'll call it mainstream media, mainstream news,
state-sponsored propaganda.
Yeah. That he can't wrap his brain around the difference in our message. So, anything else you want to say, Turd?
He's a maniac, actually, and yeah, he's a maniac, and I would actually. I'm hoping that one day when Jerome calls back in, that maybe you can get me on the air with him at the same time. Like maybe I could call over on Matrix or something like that, and we could talk to each other. Because I've got like a million questions.
You really just got to be
really
listening about the same time, or time it right.
I think we can make it work, and I just want to pick Jerome's brain for a few minutes, because I think Jerome's a maniac personally.
It won't take more than a few minutes.
That's all I wanted to say.
Jerome, if you're listening and you want to call, give us a phone number to give to Turd so that you guys can have a conversation. We're happy to do that. What you're asking for, Turd, is possible, although it might be difficult to get both of you on the air simultaneously, and we don't typically arrange that kind of a thing in advance. So,
but you know what Turd is talking about is so important. These are the types of conversations people need to be happening. I disagree with you. I think you're misinformed or whatever, and instead of just being like, "Well, this person's an idiot. Like my way is way better."
If only he would just read a book.
Yeah, well. A specific book, which was a good recommendation, but to have these conversations where it's like, hey, I see that you have this perspective. I have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Can we have a conversation in maybe, which unfortunately Jerome isn't really from him calling in, I've noticed he isn't really capable of doing. It's just, you guys are wrong and silly, and this is the right way, and you guys love Donald Trump, which is obviously not true. But
he's like the king of the straw man, right? He levies accusations at Free Talk Live that have nothing to do with it.
Donald Trump lives in Jerome's brain rent-free.
Yeah, it's like
which is exactly what Donald Trump wants.
The Trump derangement syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Jerome, if you're listening, I'd love to talk to you on air, and or privately on the phone, because I just think you're a fascinating guy, and I'd love to talk to you. But thanks for putting me on the air, guys.
The Jerome and Turd Ferguson Show.
Hey, Turd, it's been a
That's
Flushing,
a great spin-off.
Coming to a podcast.
It's been a
near
Flushing
you.
experience. We hate to wipe you out, but we're going to let you go.
Swirlies.
I'm playing the dump
Oh, that's great.
because,
Because it makes the flushing sound.
Yeah.
Free Talk Live.
Yeah, it makes the flushing sound. So Turd gets the dump sound only because his name is Turd.
Yeah. That's a special honor.
Yeah,
Or a dishonor, depending on what's going on.
There was a radio host some time ago. I haven't listened to him in years, but his name is Tom Likas, and he used to have sound effects, and people, when they were done, they're like, "Take me out, Tom," and they'd specify what sound they wanted to use, or they'd say, "Blow me up, Tom," and Tom had like a sound of like a nuclear
That's
explosion
great.
kind of a thing. So I figured I'd take Turd out with a flushing sound.
Yeah.
We need to bring the Free Talk Live soundboard back.
Maybe one day if I get around. I started one, but the built-in sounds, the default sounds, were all different volumes all over the board.
That drives me nuts.
So I was gonna have to download them all, level out the volumes, re-upload them, and I just never finished doing that. Maybe I will one day.
Just pick 5. You don't have.
Yeah, solid 5. Yeah.
Maybe I will one day. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up, including something about a toad or toads. What's that about?
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The Democrats' retention of the U.S. Senate is being celebrated by the party as a major boost for U.S. President Joe Biden following the midterm elections. Republicans are within striking distance of taking the House of Representatives, but some lawmakers are blaming Donald Trump for the absence of a red wave. One of the Republicans pointing the finger of blame is Maryland's outgoing Governor Larry Hogan.
It's basically the third election in a row that Donald Trump has cost us the race, and it's like, 3 strikes, you're out.
Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Hogan said he believes it's a mistake for Donald Trump to run for office again. The former president is expected to launch another bid for the White House on Tuesday. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told ABC's This Week that Joe Biden should run again in 2024.
President Biden has been a great president for our country. He has accomplished so much.
Mr. Biden will have to convince his critics that his age and low approval ratings aren't an obstacle. The Democrat says he'll make a decision early next year. At least 6 people have been killed and 81 others injured in an explosion in Istanbul. The incident took place in a busy pedestrianised area in the city centre early Sunday evening local time. Although Turkey's president has used the word terror in relation to the incident, it's not yet clear what caused the explosion. An investigation is currently underway. Borzu Daragahi is in Istanbul. He's the international correspondent for Britain's independent newspaper.
I spoke to witnesses. They all basically said the same thing. It was a nice, quiet Sunday afternoon on a very busy commercial thoroughway. People were walking, strolling, checking out the shops. there was an explosion, apparently coming from a park bench or one of the trees that had been tree planters that are along Istiklal Street, and everyone panicked and ran. And in the videos that you see from the scene, some verifiable that you see the scenes of utter shock on people as they're fleeing from the scene of the explosion.
After scenes of elation following Ukraine's recapture of Kherson, officials are now trying to restore critical infrastructure. Russian forces withdrew from the southern city last week, pulling back to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Charles Gibson has been following developments from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, which neighbours Russia.
Ukrainian troops and international journalists entering Kherson, which had been in Russian hands since the early days of the war, were greeted with hugs, kisses and cheers from its residents over the weekend. But now the damage left behind by Russian forces is starting to come into focus. Local officials say most homes lack basic services such as electricity, water or gas. They say work to try to restore all of that is also being held up by mines.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FM.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
And we're back.
And we're live.
And we're free.
And we're talking
on Free Talk Live.
If somebody wanted to join us, how would they do that?
603-283-6160.
From a rotary phone.
No, actually,
Ring,
I don't,
ring.
unless you had the type of phone where it converts it from the old rotary to the DTMF or touch tone, as it were. Rotary phones actually wouldn't work.
Oh,
what?
What a shame.
So back in the day, phones actually had a round circular thing.
No, I know.
with
I'm familiar.
holes in it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this.
She has a grandmother.
I'm explaining.
Come on, man.
I'm explaining to the audience, for those who
Okay.
don't know what a rotary phone is. It had a dial, and it had, little holes that a finger would fit in, unless you had really fat fingers, and, you might have to use a pinky instead of your finger, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, and you would actually have to turn the dial and then release it, and then select the next number, turn it and release it, and it would make a sound as it did this. And what it does is it's just releasing pulses, right? And then the computer, if you will, on the other side of that, or the switchboard operator, interprets those pulses as the telephone number that you dialed and connects you to that telephone number.
And if you had too many nines in your number, nobody would call you.
Oh, yeah.
No, nobody would call you?
Maybe. Well, no one.
He loves 9.
So anyway,
9.
Technology improves, and they invented something called DTMF. This is touch tone dialing, the common terminology for it. So now if you pick up a telephone like a home phone, and it's got the square buttons on it, and you press a 2 or a 5 or whatever, it makes a different sound, a different note, if you will. Yeah.
And
if
early hackers.
And if you've watched South Park, you know that you can play do 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 do, the Funky Town rhythm on it, right, from Tally. So anyway, that's known as touch tone DTMF. Rotary phones cannot perform that function unless they've either been adapted to do it, or they were released in the very short period of time where both pulse and touch tone were supported. There are some phones out there that have the rotary dial on it, and it's got a little switch on the side that you can switch between pulse or tone.
I remember that switch.
Yeah. So, and like that used to be a thing that I would do to, like, sort of subvert my, if I was stuck at grandma's house and I didn't want to be there, not grandma, but like, one of my aunt's house or something like that, I'd find that phone and I'd like switch it. And so like when they tried dialing like a number that could only be dialed with the touch tone, the call wouldn't go through, and they couldn't figure out why their service, and they'd have to get on the phone with the telephone company.
How'd they call the telephone company?
Well, because the telephone company, of course, you can dial.
Got it.
Or you can dial 0, right? So
operator.
Anyway. A little bit of a telephony history with yours truly, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Glad I mentioned it.
Let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. So I've been hearing a lot about alkaline water, and I bought bottled alkaline water and I drank it, but I was kind of curious, like, how do they make this, and what's the big deal about it? So what does it do?
Well,
to the
there's
water
this
molecule?
guy named Al, and he invented Kaline water. I'm just
So-
kidding. That's not what happened.
We have the pH scale. So
Which I
things are.
said, I didn't realize it was an acronym. I just went, pff.
I didn't catch that. So things are acidic, things are basic, and essentially alkaline water is just water that is the perfect, pH balance for your body, and it's supposed to be healthier for you.
Is it?
So
Is it the
I
perfect?
mean,
Because it's alkaline.
well,
It's not
no,
even
so it's not.
baseline.
So it's not perfect, but basically it is for a certain health results, which I'm honestly not sure of. I was drinking alkaline smart water yesterday because I ran out of water, and I went to the gas station and I picked up a bottle of water. So that's why I was drinking it. It wasn't any reason in particular, but I'm sure a lot of, there's so many health fads out there that.
Right.
I'm pretty sure this is one of them.
Yeah.
Because the
but
human
the
body.
Thing is that, But the thing is that they have these machines that you could add it to your faucet or something. They have these people that market these, and I'm thinking it's like, what do they actually do? What is the technology? Do they run it through bits of calcium?
I don't know,
minerals?
but this is from the Mayonnaise Clinic, also known as the Mayo Clinic. Is alkaline water better for you than plain water? For most people, alkaline water is not better than plain water. Bottled water sold as alkaline water, which is regulated by the U.S. FDA, might have nutrients added to it to achieve an alkaline pH.
Right. That's what I was getting at.
Alkaline water has a higher pH level than that of a plain tap water, so proponents say that it can neutralize acid in your bloodstream. Some say that alkaline water can help prevent disease such as cancer and heart disease. However, more research is needed to verify these claims.
So going back to that pH system, right? The human body itself has mechanisms to naturally regulate your pH level.
Well, it's supposed to.
For most people.
So I think the trouble comes in when people have like high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, things like that, and their body is unable to regulate that.
Right.
So I think based on what this is saying, increasing your body's pH helps combat some of those.
If your body's running unnaturally acidic.
Yeah.
Which for the vast majority
if you're
of people,
acidotic, yeah.
it doesn't do.
Yeah.
So for the vast majority of people, it does nothing. And for the very select group of people who can't regulate down from the acidic levels, it can help balance them back down to normal.
So if you're taking... Go ahead, sir.
So one thing that I noticed that all the good things for your body, like cabbage and calcium, all the things that are really good for your body, like frankincense, those happen to be all alkaline.
Okay.
So alkaline substances that are alkaline, it actually runs the acid out of your body, therefore brings the oxygen. When you have oxygen-rich tissues, it drives out the cancer cells.
But you can't be too alkaline either.
You
'cause
can
that's out of balance.
also say the same thing about things that are acidic. Like I could name 10 things that are acidic that are good for you. Like lemon, citrus fruit. Those things are also good for you and healthy for you.
Tomatoes.
But they're acidic. So I don't think it's necessarily to do with things being alkaline. I think that's just a coincidence.
But I'm talking about, you're not talking about acidity in your stomach. Your stomach has the acid, the hydrochloric acid. It's your tissues, or you have to be the alkaline, like in your muscles and in your bones and stuff like that. Not in your stomach.
It shouldn't be alkaline either. It should be balanced.
Well, I mean, but there's a right pH, but
Right.
but
There is a correct pH.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're too acidic, you need to use the alkaline substances to bring that down.
And different parts of your body have different pH balance. So like certain fluids in your body, like it's not really like this is the pH that your entire being is supposed to be.
But if you're already way too alkaline for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Doing that more is not helpful.
But typically you're supposed to be 7.35 to 7.45.
That's oddly specific.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's a very narrow range that you need to be. And your body does a pretty good job of keeping it there for most people.
Unless you're very sick, unless you have, like COPD or, some disease where you can't regulate that mechanism. But as Richie's saying, your body kind of just does it for you. And I don't know if...
For the vast majority of people.
Yeah, I don't know if drinking alkaline water is really going to...
For most people, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Because even if you drink the alkaline water, right, your body will acidize itself back up to its natural pH level.
Mm-hmm. So calcium is alkaline, so it's good to have enough calcium in your diet. That I was told that it will help prevent cancer.
Which is true, but not because it's alkaline. Just because it's an essential mineral.
And too much calcium is detrimental. That's how you get a kidney stone.
Thanks for the call. The moral of the story is, since proponents say alkaline water can neutralize acid in your bloodstream, don't drink alkaline water when you're on LSD.
Oh.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
The easiest thing in the world for a reader to do is to stop reading, according to the late, great Barney Kilgore, who became managing editor of the Wall Street Journal in 1941 and grew the paper's circulation from 33,000 to 1 million by the 60s. And he'd be pleased to know that his paper is one of the few that people now pay to read online. Someone else pre-internet who realized that attention is fragile? Motown Records founder Berry Gordy. In the early 60s, when his label dominated the charts, he'd bring a dozen real people into the Hitsville, USA studios and audition songs. And he'd ask, if you were down to your last dollar, would you spend it on this record or would you buy a sandwich? Today, attention span seems like an oxymoron. For tips on cutting through the clutter, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
And we're back. That was our best one yet.
Yeah.
We saved the best for last. Look at us. It is Free Talk Live.
I hope you weren't watching the cameras prior to that.
If you were,
I hope you were.
If you were, you were entertained. I don't know about anything else or anyone else, but that was entertaining if you were watching.
Me gusta bailar.
Before we go on, I have to tell you that Forkfest 2023 is coming up.
Woo!
You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Forkfest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, though, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before Porkfest. So Forkfest is now the pre-funk to the Porcupine Freedom Festival once again, as it was previously up until the last few years or so. Forkfest is decentralized. That means there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your campsite, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. Links to those can be found at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Come party with us. Forkfest.party. All right. We do have a caller on hold. We'll get to him in just a second. I just wanted to, because we've been teasing it this whole time. This from HuffPost.com. National Park Service begs visitors, please stop licking the psychedelic toads.
No.
Or perhaps
it's dangerous.
Perhaps drink some smart water to balance out the pH and eliminate the acid.
I always, whenever I lick toads, I always drink alkaline water after.
I wonder if there's a band called Psychedelic Toads.
There should be. It reminds me of what the psychedelic frog from, was it Comedy Central or something?
The one on the roller coaster? Oh.
No.
No idea then.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'll find it.
You must have been high.
I probably was.
She was hallucinating it.
That wasn't real.
The National Park Service dropped an unusual warning recently urging visitors to stop licking toads. And if we have more time, we can say more about that. But first, let's go to Navid in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, don't be assuming my pronouns, dude.
Okay.
Is that all you had to say?
Thank you for the call.
No,
David in New Mexico.
That's 104. No, I don't want to make Richie stay. And hey, I always thought it was. Actually.
For the first time, David, though, you sound super muffled. Are you talking right into your phone?
No, I got Ian's always on my ass about being all up here and you popping my bed and all that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I got my phone way back here, and apparently it's.
I've made an adjustment here, so go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I had it wrong all these years.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Well, I've been calling it Dorkfest.
Oh.
Ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the difference between a dork and a nerd?
No, I don't, but I bet you do.
Dorks don't go to conventions.
That's right.
There you go.
If you held a Dorkfest, nobody would show up.
He would.
He probably would.
I'm into that.
I thought there'd be more programmers here, man.
And I thought before we get to telephone technology, I thought that Funky Town was by Lips Inc.
It is.
Well, what did Captain say?
It was featured on an episode of South Park where the character named Towley used a telephone. He was trying to remember a telephone number, and he slowly starts playing the melody from Funky Town by Lips Inc. using the tones on the telephone.
Okay, I guess I should watch more TV.
Or just listen closer.
Pardon?
Or just listen closer.
Well, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Oh, okay.
So Captain is way more experienced in telephone technology because I believe you worked in the industry. Is that right?
I did.
You did, yeah. So let me get this straight because I'm confused. So you on the old rotary phones from way back.
Mm-hmm.
So you stick your finger in the hole, and then you move it around in a circle, and then it pulses.
Yeah, generally to the right, and then you release your finger from the hole, and then the dial spins back with some sort of a spring-loaded action. And then you repeat the process with the next number and the next number until you dial all 10 digits. Or in some places, you only had to dial 7 digits.
Or 4.
Or even 4, yeah. If like
you're that old.
Yeah, I'm that old, and like to dial my neighbor's telephone, like the parental units would go away. They'd be like, remember to dial these 4 digits. It was the last 4 of their telephone number, and you could get right to them.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I'd forgotten all about that springing back part. I just remember the sticking the finger in the hole and moving it around and then pulsing. That's all I remember.
I believe it.
Okay.
It's hard to please a woman like that.
Thanks for the call, David. That was interesting.
So I want to just briefly, Hypnotoad was what I was referring to, and it's from Futurama, and that's what it reminded me of with the eyes.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't remember what it was called.
I don't think I've ever thought of it as the psychedelic toad before, but that's an accurate
That's the first thing my brain told me it was.
Yeah, very good.
I thought it was like the frog on the roller coaster meme.
Excellent recall.
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
So anyway, the National Park Service issued this unusual warning recently. Quote, as we say with most things you come across in the national park, whether it be a banana slug, an unfamiliar mushroom, or a large toad with glowing eyes in the dead of night, please refrain from licking, the agency wrote.
Make me.
The warning.
Inhibit your natural human urges.
I know. Come on. I thought this was nature.
No, this is Free Talk Live.
Oh, okay. I was confused. Sorry.
Wrong show.
The warning posted on Facebook last week specifically applies to the Sonoran Desert Toad, a.k.a. the Colorado River Toad. These toads have prominent
A.k.a. don't lick me, bro.
Right, yeah. Don't lick me, bro. These toads have prominent parotoid glands that secrete a potent toxin.
Sounds like a good time.
The agency wrote.
Sounds like an advertisement for the
I know, right?
National Park Service.
Come lick our toads.
It's almost like that's what they're doing by just even doing this
like,
at all.
I had no clue about this, but now that I know, I'll be right there.
I've never thought myself a toad licker before, but since they've been advertising it,
first time for everything.
I might
you know?
go. We don't know.
I won't kink shame you.
Is that a kink, really? Like trying to get high off
It
a
could
toad?
be.
It can make you sick if you handle the frog or get the poison in your mouth. Yet people seek it out anyway for something else it secretes, a hallucinogenic substance called 5-MeO-DMT.
Oh, cool.
It's
I heard DMT.
5-ME capital O-DMT. All caps.
What? So where is this?
Colorado.
We're in.
Oh, I've always wanted to visit Colorado. I hear it's beautiful.
It's Colorado River Toad, right?
Well, yeah, but they don't actually specify.
Well, if it's Colorado River Toad, go down to Colorado River and look for a toad.
Which national park?
Lick it.
It doesn't specify. It says
This is a terrible advertisement.
It says the National Park Service dropped an unusual warning.
Oh, so maybe just in general.
Well, but they gave it away with the name of the animal. It's the Colorado River Toad.
Well, they could have migrated other places.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
They've taken a photo of one, and the caption under the photo says, yet another capture of a toxic toad crossing the road during a hot summer day in the Sonoran Desert of Peoria, Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. He's cute, too.
As many of them invaded the streets after a major flooding monsoon of August 2021.
So they secrete a toxin and a hallucinogenic. but you don't know what you're going to get when you pick it up and lick it.
It might be both.
I'm guessing the hallucinogenic is the toxin, right?
Yeah, that's usually how it is, right? Because even with mushrooms, it's kind of like a food poisoning type thing that gets you high.
Right, like as a defense mechanism, if somebody picks up a toad, licks it, and they start seeing stuff, right? They're probably not going to lick that toad again.
Oh, they don't know humans.
Unless, of course...
You never met me.
Unless, of course, they're into that kind of thing, in which case, then they're going to be hunted.
Toad lickers.
What was the other word they said here, the other phrase? Secrete a potent toxin? No, it was... all right, well, whatever. While the secretions can lead to a trip, the National Capital Poison Center notes it can also cause severe irritation, pain, and tissue damage.
Yeah.
Take a trip and never leave your house.
We're out of time. Thank you to our callers. Thank you to my co-hosts, Richie Rich, Nikki.
Thank you, Captain.
If you missed any part of the show, find the archives over at freetalklive.com. Have a great Sunday night, everybody. Thanks and peace.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191.